a quiet evening in March 2016, a 19-year-old college student named Emily Harper sat alone in her dorm room scrolling through her laptop. She was researching urban legends for a class project when she stumbled upon a forum thread about the Deep Web Challenge. The rules were simple. Participants had to spend 24 hours exploring the Deep Web, documenting their findings and sharing their experiences. Emily, a curious and adventurous soul, decided to take on the challenge. She masked her IP address, downloaded the necessary software and ventured into the abyss. What she discovered would leave her questioning reality itself. The first few hours were uneventful. Emily found the usual array of black market sites, forums, and bizarre chat rooms. But then she clicked on a link that led her to a site called The Library of Shadows. The page was minimalist, with a plain white background and a single search bar. Below it was a message: "Ask, and you shall receive. But be careful what you wish for." Emily, intrigued, typed in a simple question: "What is my future?" The screen flickered, and a document began to download automatically. She hesitated before opening it, her cursor hovering over the file. When she finally clicked, her screen filled with a series of images and text that made her blood run cold. The document contained detailed information about her life: her full name, her date of birth, her address, even her social security number. But that wasn't the worst part. The document also included photographs of her, taken at various points in her life, some of which she didn't even remember being taken. The final image was a screenshot of her dorm room, taken from outside her window. The timestamp on the photo was from just 5 minutes ago. Emily slammed her laptop shut and ran to the window, her heart pounding. She peered outside, but the campus was quiet, with no one in sight. She tried to convince herself it was a prank, a clever hack designed to scare her. But the details in the document were too accurate, too personal. She spent the rest of the night wide awake, her laptop turned off and shoved under her bed. The next morning, she decided to confront the challenge head-on. She logged back into the Deep Web and returned to the Library of Shadows. This time, she typed a different question: "Who are you?" The screen flickered again and a new document began to download. When she opened it, she found a single sentence: "We are the Watchers, and we are always watching." Below the sentence was a live video feed of her dorm room, taken from an angle she couldn't identify. She could see herself sitting at her desk, staring at her laptop in real time. Panicked, she grabbed her phone and called campus security. But by the time they arrived, the feed had disappeared, leaving no trace of its existence. Over the next few weeks, Emily's life became a living nightmare. She started receiving anonymous messages on her phone, each containing cryptic warnings like, "You ask too many questions and the Watchers see all." Her dorm room was broken into multiple times, but nothing was ever stolen. Instead, she would find strange objects left behind: a single black feather on her pillow, a Polaroid photo of her sleeping, a USB drive containing a video of her walking to class. The video was time-stamped for the following day. Emily tried to report the incidents to the police, but without concrete evidence, they couldn't do much. She considered dropping out of school and moving back home, but something stopped her before that. Emily's final journal entry, dated April 15, 2016, was discovered on her laptop after she vanished without a trace. In it, she described a recurring dream she had been having, a dream of a dark, endless library filled with books that contained the lives of every person who had ever lived. In the dream, she would wander the aisles, searching for her own book, but every time she found it, the pages would be blank. The last line of her entry read, "I think the Watchers have my book." And I think they're writing the ending. To this day, Emily Harper's disappearance remains unsolved. Some believe she was the victim of an elaborate online hoax that drove her to madness. Others think she stumbled upon a hidden truth too terrifying to comprehend. Buried deep within the dark web, the message board was obscure, frequented only by the most reclusive of users. One night, a post appeared under a username that had never been seen before. It was simple, yet chilling. "Do not look at the image." Accompanying the post was a single download link. Despite the warning, curiosity took hold. Users, always seeking the next unsettling mystery, downloaded the file. It was a low-resolution image, grainy and difficult to decipher. At first glance, it seemed to depict an empty room, dimly lit by a single overhead bulb. But as users studied the image more closely, strange details began to emerge. Shadows that didn't align with any visible objects, a faint outline of what appeared to be a person standing in the corner. And then the reports began. Those who had viewed the image started experiencing bizarre phenomena. Some reported hearing whispers in the dead of night, voices speaking in an unrecognizable language. Others found strange symbols etched into the walls of their homes, symbols that hadn't been there before. The most disturbing reports came from those who had stared at the image for too long. They described seeing movement within the frame, as if the shadows in the picture were shifting, creeping closer to the foreground. A few even claimed that they had seen eyes, cold, staring back at them. The forum exploded with speculation. Some users suggested it was a psychological experiment, a test of human perception. Others believed it was a digital curse, something meant to spread and infect whoever dared to look. But as quickly as the conversation had started, it ended. One by one, the accounts of those who had downloaded the image went silent. Their posts remained, frozen in time, but their usernames were no longer active. Private messages sent to them went unanswered. It was as if they had simply ceased to exist. A week later, a new post appeared under a different username. Do not look at the image, delete it if you have it, they know. By then it was too late. Copies of the file had been shared, spread across different corners of the internet. People who had never visited the original forum had seen it. The reports continued, growing stranger by the day. A researcher, fascinated by the phenomenon, attempted to track the origins of the image. They followed a trail of encrypted messages, dead links and abandoned accounts, until they found something truly disturbing: metadata hidden within the image that contained a single GPS coordinate. The location led to an abandoned house, deep in a remote forest. The researcher, driven by both fear and curiosity, decided to investigate. They arrived at the site in the middle of the night, flashlight in hand. The house was empty, long forgotten, but inside the walls were covered in the same symbols described by those who had viewed the image. And in the center of the room, barely illuminated by the beam of the flashlight, was a single photograph, the same image that had been posted online. As the researcher turned to leave, they heard something, a whisper, faint but unmistakable. "You saw it. Now we see you." Their car was found abandoned on the side of the road the next morning, engine still running, but the researcher was never seen again. It began with a single post on an obscure forum, buried deep within the layers of the internet, where few dared to venture. The thread was simple, almost unremarkable, a question posted by a user with no history, no identifiable information. "Has anyone else received the package?" No one responded at first. The forum, a known gathering place for hackers, conspiracy theorists, and those obsessed with the unknown, saw strange posts every day. But within hours, replies started appearing. One by one, users began confirming they had received something, a package delivered with no return address, containing nothing but a single USB drive. Most would have ignored it, but curiosity is a dangerous thing. Those who plugged the drive into their computers found only a single file inside, an unmarked video with a cryptic timestamp. And so, one by one, they pressed play. The footage was raw, grainy, almost too dark to make out. But as the seconds passed, the screen flickered to life. A single chair in the center of a dimly lit room. A man sat bound to it, his breathing ragged, his eyes darting around in panic. Someone stood behind the camera, silent, unseen. The video cut to black. At first, it seemed like an elaborate hoax, an attempt to stir up the ever-hungry minds lurking in the depths of the internet. But then the users who had received the package began disappearing. Their accounts went inactive, their last messages eerily similar. Variations of "I think someone is watching me," or "I need to go somewhere safe." A few managed to upload follow-up messages as they described inexplicable events. Doors unlocking on their own, distorted whispers over phone calls, shadows where no one should be. But before they could reveal more, they vanished, leaving behind nothing but silence. It wasn't long before mainstream news outlets caught wind of the disappearances. Reporters attempted to trace the origins of the mysterious USBs, but every lead ended in nothing. No shipping records, no fingerprints, no surveillance footage of deliveries. The only common thread was that every recipient had been known to frequent certain corners of the dark web, forums specializing in leaked government secrets, unethical experiments, and urban legends that felt all too real. Then, an anonymous user uploaded the full video. The extended footage was far worse than the snippets previously seen. The man in the chair was speaking, though his words were garbled, a mixture of languages and numbers that made no sense. At one point, he started screaming, his face contorting in pure terror as something unseen approached him. The audio was distorted, but beneath the static, some claimed they could hear another voice, a deep, guttural whisper counting down. And then, suddenly, the man stopped. He slumped forward, his body motionless. The video cut to black again, but this time, a message appeared on the screen. "You were never meant to see this." People attempted to analyze the footage, but every time it was re-uploaded, the original poster would disappear. Authorities were labeling it as a cruel internet prank, but whispers grew. Some claimed the video contained subliminal messages capable of inducing paranoia. Others believed it was evidence of a clandestine experiment gone wrong. A few even speculated that the footage depicted a victim of a secret organization, a group operating beyond the reach of governments, beyond the scope of human understanding. And then, someone found the man. A journalist, obsessed with unraveling the mystery, spent months cross-referencing missing persons reports and security footage leaks. Eventually, they found a match. The man in the video had been reported missing 5 years prior, a researcher specializing in artificial intelligence and behavioral programming. His case had been cold for years, but the details were unsettling. His apartment had been found undisturbed, except for his computer, which had been completely wiped. Not just deleted, wiped clean, as if it had never been used. The only clue left behind was a single piece of paper, a sequence of numbers scrawled in the center. The same numbers he had been muttering in the video. The journalist tried to contact the authorities, but before they could publish their findings, they too vanished. Their last known communication was a single email to a trusted colleague. It contained only 2 words: "It's real." After that, the packages stopped arriving. The forum where the mystery began was shut down without explanation, its archives wiped from existence. The few users who had survived the ordeal refused to speak of it, their fear palpable, but rumors persisted. Some say the video is still out there, hidden within the dark web, waiting for the next unfortunate soul to stumble upon it. On a cold, rain-soaked night in October 2014, a 24-year-old software engineer named Daniel Carter logged onto his computer, unaware that the next few hours would plunge him into a nightmare that would haunt him for the rest of his life. Daniel was no stranger to the dark corners of the internet. He had spent years exploring the deep web, a place where anonymity reigns and the rules of the surface web don't apply. But this time, he wasn't searching for anything illegal or sinister, or so he thought. He was simply looking for a rare piece of software he needed for a project. What he found instead was a link to a forum thread titled The Red Room Experiment. The post was brief, almost cryptic. "If you're brave enough to see the truth, follow the coordinates below, but be warned. Once you enter, there's no turning back." Daniel, intrigued and perhaps a little too confident in his ability to navigate the deep web's dangers, copied the coordinates into his browser and hit enter. What followed was a descent into a horror that defied explanation. The page loaded slowly, the screen flickering as if struggling to display its contents. When it finally appeared, Daniel was greeted by a stark black background with a single line of text in blood-red font. "Welcome to the Red Room. Do you wish to proceed?" Below it were two options, yes and no. Against his better judgment, Daniel clicked yes. The screen went black for a moment before a live video feed appeared. The quality was grainy, but the scene was unmistakable. A dimly lit room with a single chair in the center. On the chair sat a man bound and gagged, his eyes wide with terror. Standing behind him was a figure clad in a black hood, holding a knife. The figure leaned down and whispered something into the man's ear before straightening up and addressing the camera directly. "Welcome, guest," the figure said in a distorted voice. "You are here to witness the truth. But remember, you are not just a spectator. You are a participant." Before Daniel could process what was happening, the figure raised the knife and brought it down in a swift, brutal motion. The screen went black again, and a message appeared. "Thank you for your participation. Your session will be recorded." Daniel slammed his laptop shut, his heart pounding. He tried to convince himself it was a hoax, an elaborate prank designed to scare deep web explorers. But something about the man's screams, the way the knife had glinted in the dim light, it felt too real. Over the next few days, Daniel couldn't shake the feeling that he was being watched. His computer would turn on by itself in the middle of the night, displaying the same black screen with the blood-red text. He started receiving strange emails from an unknown sender, each containing cryptic messages like, "You've seen too much and the truth is coming for you." Then one night he woke up to the sound of footsteps in his apartment. He grabbed his phone and called the police, but by the time they arrived, the intruder was gone. The only evidence they found was a single red thread tied to the doorknob of his bedroom door. Daniel's life spiraled out of control after that. He quit his job, moved to a new city, and even changed his name in an attempt to escape whatever or whoever was after him. But the messages kept coming. The red threads started appearing in his new apartment, tied to random objects like his toothbrush or his car keys. He tried to erase all traces of his deep web activity, but it was as if the Red Room had embedded itself into his life. Then, one day, he received an email with a single attachment, a video file. He hesitated before opening it, his hands trembling. The video showed the same dimly lit room, the same chair, but this time, the figure in the hood was holding a photograph, Daniel's photograph. The figure turned to the camera and said, "You can run, but you can't hide. The truth always finds its way." The screen went black, and the video ended. That day was the last time Daniel was seen alive. His apartment was found empty, with no signs of a struggle. The only clue was his laptop, open on his desk, displaying the same black screen with the blood-red text. "Thank you for your participation. Your session has been recorded." To this day, no one knows what happened to Daniel Carter. Some believe he was the victim of a sophisticated online predator who lured him into a trap. Others think he stumbled upon something far more sinister, a hidden network of individuals who use the deep web to carry out unspeakable acts. The Red Room remains a mystery, its existence unconfirmed by authorities. But for those who have dared to venture into the darkest corners of the internet, the story of Daniel Carter serves as a chilling reminder. Some doors are better left unopened, and some truths are better left unknown.